Greetings YouTube and welcome to my next weapons build. So I've got this piece of scrap steel here from another project. I don't even remember which one that was now. And I've got this wooden shaft, just a piece of pine. So I thought I'd make a short, heavy spear. And I'm going to be using this right here to give it an accent. And what do I mean by that? Well, when I built my halberd, I put a little cutout in the halberd, and I liked the little cutout. I liked that. That was kind of cool looking. So, I've got 4 marks. That one I actually screwed up once. There's 2 marks there. The one closer to my finger is correct. So I'm going to put 4 cutouts with this bit right here, right in there, and it'll come right to the edge. And then I'll use my angle grinder with a cutoff blade to clean it up, so you end up with some notches. You get 2 notches in there. I'm also going to use that here to cut these 2 marks, and they are going to become the slope, and the shaft is actually going to fit right up to here. So it's going to sit. That pencil mark will eventually go away. I don't need it after once I'm done. And then once I get everything drilled for this here, I'm going to look at drawing out the blade. There's the center. I've already marked the center of the blade. I'm thinking of doing a curve, but I want to get the holes done first, so I kind of have an idea what I'm playing with visually. So once I have the negative space here, I can then decide what kind of shape I want. I'm thinking it's going to be, you know, just a gentle curve. I think that's what I'm going to go for. We'll see how if I change my mind. I don't think I will, but we'll see if I do. So I need to get suited up in my safety gear, and I need to. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe a good time to drill the shaft first, because I already have the channel in the channel block in there, so that makes my life a little bit easier. Yeah, that may be the smartest thing to do. The only problem is cutting the slot in this. Again, cutting slots is always a pain in the butt, and I'm probably going to have to do this by hand with a saw. Let me thinking. If I do the 2 here, and then I cut the slot 90 degrees to those 2 holes. Yeah, that might be the best way to do it. So drill the 2 1/4-inch holes here first. And I already have kind of an idea. I want them at the 1 and the 5-inch mark. I did not put marks here intentionally because I don't know exactly where they're going to line up yet. That's my intention, but that may not be exactly where they end up, because, you know, there are very vagaries when you're doing this kind of thing. But I definitely want them on the center line. So the center line's actually scratched into the steel, whereas those are just pencil marks. So yes, I guess I'll drill that first, and that will take care of that problem. And then I can get the V-block out and get set up to start doing the 4 holes I know I want to take out of this. So yeah, that would probably be the best way. And the nice thing about doing the wood is I can just use a straight 1/4 bit. I don't have to worry about going through a steel tube with my broaching bits or something like that, or worrying about a drill bit walking on me. I'm not going to have that problem with wood. That's the nice thing about dealing with wood. It's very accommodating. So lay out the 2 hole, mark the 2 holes on that, and then drill those holes, and then we should be all set for the next stage, which will be working on this. So once I get this clamped up and everything, I'll probably drop back in and show you how it's going. The 2 holes are already drilled in my wooden shaft, and now I've got this properly clamped down and ready to be drilled. The 4 holes I want to do, the cutouts. And while this is an excellent clamping device, I really think I need to come up with one that would work better than this. Because getting this on and off is kind of a pain in the butt, because I have to take the nut off, drop the whole thing out. We have to remove both bolts to get this on and then take it off if I want to set up the channel. It's cumbersome. So I'm I'm thinking, can I find some dog clamps? You know, like clamps you go, boonk, and they just lock in place. That would fit this slot. Because if I could find like 2 of those, that would be much faster and far more dynamic than this option. This still works, and in the meantime, again, this cost me nothing. I had everything you see here was in my shop. I picked this up at in an estate sale for nothing. And I had already had the fasteners and the nuts and the washers and everything. So this was a very inexpensive and readily available option, and it's very secure. This is absolutely going nowhere. But it is slow. And since, you know, like I'm doing 4 different holes, and I have to loosen it, and then move it, and position it, and then clamp it back down, and you have to worry about the plate moving in the process, whereas if I could put it in position and hold it with my hand, and then clamp something on one, and then clamp another, it's probably not going to move on me, and it will be faster. So I got to see if I can find some kind of a clamping option that's more dynamic than this. This will work in the meantime, so I'm not in any danger of getting hurt. But definitely, this is something that I would like to upgrade as soon as I can. The 4 holes I'm cutting are done, so now I need to clean up the edges to make them straight. And these are the actual little 3 of them. I don't know where the 4th one went, because when I was done, this actually sticks up inside the cutter. Then I have to like tap the cutter, and the cutter has a pin inside it that lets you center it, but it's spring loaded. So when I tapped it and it finally came loose, the spring like chucks this thing out and it goes flying with quite a bit of force. Actually, I was quite impressed. But you can see that it's a really nice cut. It really is. It does an excellent job. I tell you, I love these things. I'm considering purchasing some larger ones from another company just so I can do a comparison between Rotobroach and another brand, because these go up to 3/4 of an inch, and I'm thinking of getting a set that goes from like 1 inch up to maybe even 2, so that I can do larger holes, both for accent purposes and for, you know, making different types of designs and things as far as fixturing and things like that. There are some ideas I have in the future if I can get my hands on some larger plates where larger diameter types of holes would make my life a lot easier, though I would have to set it up with a waste block under it, because obviously I can't go all the way through this any more than that's probably 1 inch. So, you know, I can't really use go through unless I have a waste block under it of wood, so that the bit could go down and just hit it and not hit the table. But I do like the way this comes out. It does an excellent job. There you go. All right, so now it's time to set up the angle grinder and get my cutoff wheel and clean these up. And while I have it, go ahead and cut to that edge from here to the edge, which I will very shortly create, so that has a nice clean shoulder. And I'm thinking, while I was doing it, this takes like a good minute, or a good minute and a half, 2 minutes to get through, because I go nice and slow, because I want to make sure I'm not hurting my machine, my drill press or the bit. So I'm thinking, while I was just thinking about it, I think I may divide this in 3s, and then make a mark, and then make an arc. I have to find something here in the shop, or go upstairs and grab one of my French curves, which is a pain in the butt. I don't want to go all the way upstairs. But I do have French curves upstairs that would help me draw a curve consistently so that it would look decent. Because doing it by hand is difficult. I've done enough curves by hand. It could be a pain in the butt. Having a French curve or a set of French curves makes your life a whole lot easier if you're doing layout, or you're doing sketches or something like that. French curves can really make your life a whole lot easier when you're doing physical layouts and sketches. One unintended side effect of this design is I could get my clamp really deep in there, so this is really quite secure. I'm quite happy with that. So I got the cleaned up, so that's exactly how I want them to look. Now it's going to be cutting these 2 angles, so I get these 2 corner pieces off, and that will then clean that up, and then that will be the section that goes inside the shaft itself. So it's just going to taper right in two being the same width as the shaft is. At least in theory, at least. In theory, when I'm done, it should be the same width as the shaft, which is 1 1/4 inches. And I like the taper rather than just have a straight shaft. I kind of like that visual fade from the blade into the shaft, because well, I freely admit that I am not doing high art here. This is an artistic endeavor for me. This is how I express myself. I express myself by making dangerous toys. That's cut and deburred, and I have deburred the 4 cutouts, and I have laid out the line I want to work with. Okay, and what did I use to draw that line? That! And what is this? It's a buckler I made out of a wok. So I got to use an old project, or older project, to work on this project, because it gave me the curve I want. So now all I gotta do is cut in the outside of that black line, and we'll be good. That's cool. I love when a plane comes together. But yeah, this is a buckler I made, shoot, a couple years ago, I guess now? I don't remember. It's called the Wok Buckler, so I guess you can look it up on my channel and see when I uploaded it. Of course, the one I uploaded is not necessarily when I made it, because at the moment I'm filming this video today, I've got like a dozen build videos in the bank waiting to go up. I've been putting them up every other week. And with the pandemic, I've been spending considerably more time in the shop. So, you know, I'm ahead of the schedule, and I like that. I like having videos in the bank. Alright, so it's time to put the wok back, reclamp this so that it's much more secure. This is boing, 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 boing. Way too vibrational at the moment, so gotta fix that. But yeah, ready for the final cuts. And there is the final shape of the spearhead. Excuse me. And quite happy with it. So now I need to start working on the edge. And I'm going to start the edge here. That's going to remain dull. And I'll do the edge on this side. Then I'll flip it over probably and do it on this side. Because at the moment I have it set up so that I can push this way. This clamp's holding it in place, and my dog keeps it from moving that way. And once I get that side, flip it and do the other side, I will then rotate it over here and do the same thing over again. I'll get it down to a certain point, and then I'll set my vise, my angle grinder up in my vise with the flap wheel facing up for the fine work. Because that way I can hold the blade in 2 hands, and I can really concentrate at any spots that I see that have flats, and so I can bring them out. And again, this is not going to be a super sharp blade. This is mild steel. I don't even know what it is, to tell you the truth. I have no capacity for hardening anything, and I don't know how to do it. I mean, I know roughly. You heat something up till you get to a specific temperature, then you quench it in oil, but that's as close as I know. I've never had to do that. But I like the overall shape on this one. I think it came out nice. And once the blade is done, then it's going to have to work on the slot. And I get the feeling I'm not going to get this done today. I thought I might get it done, but this whole process has taken a little bit longer than I thought. I did take quite a bit of layout time to make sure I had everything set up the way I wanted. So you always have to kind of factor in twice as long as you think something's going to take, and you're probably still going to be off. But so I'll start working on this and see if I can get the blade done today. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. So next thing you see will hopefully be a completed blade. Alright, so there we are. The blade is where I want it. It is not preserved perfect. For example, that the line is not exactly perfect. It's not even. But I am sharpening this on a angle grinder and not a proper belt sander. So not bad for a belt, for an angle grinder. It's relatively sharp. This has got a tiny little flat on here, which is intentional because I wanted to really kind of bring that to a point and reinforce it slightly. So there's actually a tiny little flat here, and I'm alright with that. It brightens up that point a little. So Now that I have this completed, I am going to have to put the slot in the handle, and once the slot is in the handle, then I can figure out where specifically the holes go in this. Now I know, where's my line? There's my line. So I know I want the holes on that line, but exactly where they are, I don't know. I've got the holes in the shaft set at 1 inch and 4 inches. And this is a 5-inch distance right here, so it should go there and there. You know, everything comes out the way I want it to. So yeah, very happy with this blade. It's, you know, it's coming out as a most definitely a heavy spear, which is the goal here. Not quite a wolf spear, but not far off a wolf spear. I don't know how far a wolf would get up this. I don't know if they get past these little thingies, because these are not actually, you know, flanges, but they're going to catch like a son of a gun on an internal bits of a body. So this may actually stop somebody from crawling up a shaft. I'm not positive. I've never hunted an animal that was tenacious enough to climb up a spear shaft, so I can't tell you in particular whether this would work or not. And I'm not going to test it. But it's kind of got that vibe, and I like that vibe. I'm sure at some point in the future I will make a proper wolf spear, because that would be kind of cool. So here we go. Happy with this, and I'm done for the day. It's time to go upstairs, take a break. This is the only day off I have off this week, so I don't want to push myself too hard. Had to work a 6-day week, and it's back at it tomorrow night. Yay. Let's all hear for mandatory overtime. Woohoo! And now we're at one of my least favorite parts of this process, and that is trying to cut a slot in a wooden shaft so I can mount the blade. I'm notoriously bad at this, and recently I posted a video and my friend Mike is like, he sees like 4 out of 10 times, he said his slots are not straight either, and he just kind of bends the thing and the bayonet in place after he's mounted it. So I'm not alone in having difficulty. However, I hope I may have come up with a solution. Now I own a Dremel multi-tool like this. It's a vibratory blade. You can get all kinds of different blades for it. And this is one of the ones that came with it. It's the same thickness as this blade, but it's a lot narrower, and it flexes quite a bit. This one has got more of a kerf, so these teeth are the same thickness as, almost exactly the same thickness as the blade itself, while these have been bent at an angle so the kerf is thicker than the blade. So I'm hoping that will, because it'll be cutting a bigger slot, the blade will be hopefully not be as likely to bend in the same exact direction as the cut. So since I've got that little bit of slop, I'm hoping there'll be less tension and stress on the blade itself. And again, it's twice as wide, so that should help. And this thing is supposed to be able to be used on like softwood, hardwood, see, nails, drywall, PVC, conduit, copper, and it shows an I-beam, and then it says thin metal. I don't know how much of an I-beam this would cut through, not much. But since this is more robust and supposed to be able to handle more materials, I'm hoping I can cut a slot all the way through here. Now, I actually need to go 5 inches, but I've only marked this to 4 3/4 inches because I want to get as close as I can to 5 inches. So I'm going to cut the slot first, and when I'm happy with the slot, and then I can inch my way towards, literally inch my way down towards 5 inches, so that I can then drill, then I can then mark holes here, and then drill them. I have not marked them yet because I want to wait until I have the slot so I can slide that in here. Now, in the past, I would have used a drill to open this up, go all the way through, and take that piece of wood out. But that would give me a slot with a radius at the bottom. Now, I don't want a slot with the radius at the bottom. I would like this slot to have a square bottom because that is a square piece of metal. So, to avoid that, the best way to do it, I think at least, because I don't have, like I said, I don't have some of the woodworking tools that would make this much easier, would be to use a chisel. But this is, in theory, 3/16 of an inch wide if I stay on the inside of those lines. And the thinnest chisel I have, and I don't have a lot of chisels, is 1/4 inch. So that's not wide enough. So I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? Then I thought to myself, what is a chisel? A chisel is a hard piece of steel with an angle on it. So I made myself a chisel. This is an old file. I cut an angle on it, I ground the angle, and sharpened it. So now I'm hoping that with this, which is less than 3/16 of an inch in diameter, or width, I'll be able to clean this up. Now, I'm not going to get exactly 3/16, obviously, but 3/16 of an inch is 187 thousandths of an inch, and that chisel is 145 thousandths of an inch. So, you know, you're about 40 thousandths under, which is just fine. That slight bit of difference is not a big deal. And it was, again, it was part of my collection. I own a lot of files. And when I say lot, I mean I have purchased lots of files, and as in like a group of them, LOT, not as in like just many. But yeah, I've purchased lots of them at yard sales and estate sales, so I've got files to spare, which is why that one has now been dedicated, hopefully, into a functioning chisel. And we're going to find that out. So the first task I have is going to try this here to cut this slot, see how well that goes. This is mounted nice and firmly in my vise. Thankfully my vise has a pipe gripping section down here, and this piece of leather protects the wood from being overly crimped by that pipe section, but it does make a nice firm mount, so that this isn't going anywhere. So first thing I'm going to do, try to cut this slot as best I can with as much control as possible, and then plunge all the way into the depth of the blade, and then I can come in this way all the way through until I work my way through until I get here, and then come straight down on that one. And hopefully I will then have the slot that I need, and then I can work closer and closer with my chisel with any luck. Well, we're going to find that out. This is a learning process, and I'm hoping that it succeeds. Yay! So, first up, trying my multi-tool, my Dremel multi-tool, to cut a slot in this. So, my assessment of the situation is that the Dremel multi-tool with that blade does a pretty decent job. I've got the slot, now I've got this piece of waste I have to get it out of there, which I'm going to use my chisel to see if I can get it out. And then it's going to be fine-tuning the situation so that I can fit the blade in here to the depth that makes me happy. So now it's going to be using the chisel and hopefully just knocking this thing out, and then kind of creeping my way into the direction I want to, and if I have to use that a little bit more, I will. It gives me a lot of control. As you can see, I was able to get just inside of those two lines I drew. It's not perfect, but I can clean it up. It's not a problem. And it shouldn't be too wide, which is one of the things I'm trying to avoid. I want it to be as close to 3/16 of an inch wide as possible, because I'm trying to get a snug fit. That's one of my goals here. So, chisel time, and we'll see how that goes. So the slot is complete. It is not perfect, and one of the things that I thought was going to happen did happen. I split my handle. So the handle is shot. So I'm going to have to get myself a piece of solid aluminum and make a rod of solid aluminum. I don't think I own a rod of solid aluminum. I'll have to dig around some more. And make a handle out of that so it won't split. It'll deform slightly, but it won't split. So I was just kind of hammering on the end of my file chisel with my copper hammer here, because it was the handiest hammer that I had available to me. But again, it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than like the last slot I had to drill. I had to cut, and then I drilled out the bottom with the drill bit. So this came out a heck of a lot better. Where's my shoes? I got my shop shoes on, so I don't hurt my toesies. Steel-toed shoes are very handy. So now that I have this, I will move this onto the table so that I can clamp the blade in. When I get the blade where I want it to be, I'm going to use this punch just to make a couple of marks on the blade. Then I will brighten up those marks with my nail set so that I'm happy with it. with my spring marking tool, and then I'm going to try out my brand new clamp, which I just purchased recently, and see how well this works. It doesn't actually put enough force on the steel by itself. The steel is only 3/16 of an inch thick, so I need to put that on there to give it enough force to really clamp onto it. And I already have my 5/16 inch broaching bit in the drill press already set to go. So once I get that, then the only thing that will be left to do once those two holes are done is to put bolts through it, and we're good to go. I gotta see if I got any bolts that are the right size. I'm not sure if I have any that are the right length, because if I don't have to cut a bolt off, that's good, because I don't really to tell you the truth, if I have to do 2 cuts, I'm not gonna gear up for that. I'm just gonna cut it off and hope I don't get any chips in my eyes, because it's just not worth getting all my safety gear on for those just 2 simple cuts. Alrighty, so now it's time to put the marks in my spearhead, and then we can drill it, and then it's assembly time. And here is the completed spear, and I lucked out, and I had a couple of 1/4 bolts with exactly the length I needed them to be, so I didn't have to use long ones and cut them down. Once again, I'm thankful for my bottle of 1/4, which I picked up at a yard sale for, I think, $2. I'm very happy with that purchase, because I've used it for so many projects. I'm probably running out of the longer ones by now. But so this is completed. This is not the ideal shaft. Again, it's pine. This should really be made out of something much harder, like an ash or an oak. But I don't have ash or oak, and I don't have the ability to make my own shafts at this point. Like if I had a table saw, I could like rip them down and even give it like an octagonal shape, so you had some kind of edge control and stuff. And not to mention just a little more visual appeal. But this is just a rod from a closet for your hanging up your clothes. And since I am doing a post-apocalyptic vibe, this is something that will be ubiquitous in a post-apocalyptic environment. They are going to be everywhere, and hanging up your clothes is a lot less important if you need a spear. So you can very easily turn a clothes hanger into a spear, as I am showing. So I'm quite happy with this overall design. Again, this edge is not, it's not uber sharp. It's got an edge, but not much. But the point comes out nicely. I like that. I like that quite a bit. And I think it looks good. And it has inspired me to work on a project which is going to use more bits like this, more broaching bits, cutters, but I just purchased some new ones, a different brand that are bigger. The ones I have right now from the Blair Rotobroach, go from 5/16 to 3/4, and the ones I just picked up go from 22 millimeters to 65 millimeters, and there are 6 of them. I had to get metric, but who cares? A hole's a hole. And that is going to be using another piece of 3-inch wide steel, but I want to see if I can make a sword-like weapon that has points on the edge. Instead of having a sword edge, it's going to have arrow-shaped points all the way down. So it's kind of going to be vaguely reminiscent of, like one of the obsidian swords used by the Aztecs or the Mayans. And it's going to have kind of inspired by the symbol of chaos, which is 8 arrow points going in all different directions. So that's kind of what I'm going for with it. We're going to see if it works. I'll have to do a bunch of layout. First, if I have to get the steel, I need to get another piece of this. This was a piece of scrap I had left over from another project. So I need to go get a 3-foot length of 3-inch wide, 3/16 inch steel, and then do some layout and see if I can actually make what I want to work. Because it would be really cool if I could, because I think it would be really interesting. It is going to be a very intense project, however, because it's going to have a lot of points, which means a lot of grinding edges on points. But, it is what it is. Alrighty, so that's next project. But this project is a success, and now I'm going to go outside, take some stills for my DeviantArt page and for my Instagram, which you should both go follow both of those, because I'm just a spiffy dude. Alrighty, so thanks for being here for this video. I appreciate it, and I hope that you're here for the next.